There's a lot of misinformation about addiction. You might be wondering, is addiction, is using drugs or alcohol really dangerous? Is it a disease? Is it a choice? What's really going on? Here's an easy way to think about it. Let's say you went to school tomorrow and your teacher brought in a giant box of donuts. Best teacher ever, right? You'd be really excited about that. Now let's say your teacher brought in donuts tomorrow and the next day and the next day. If you're anything like me, you're going to start to expect it. You're going to start to expect that when you come into school, there's going to be donuts there. And if you're anything like me, you're going to say, hey, if breakfast is already going to be there at school, why would I waste time getting up early to eat breakfast or spend money at the drive-thru when I know it's waiting for me right there? This is what happens to our brains in addiction. When we use a drug or alcohol or something like that, it actually goes in and physically changes our brain to make it expect that nicotine, alcohol, that social media is coming. And because it's expecting that and expecting that excitement to come from outside, it stops making the feel-good chemicals that our brain usually makes. This is what we call tolerance, and it shows that our brains are physically changed through addiction. It's also kind of like this. If you remember it all from biology, you know that frogs are cold-blooded. What that means is you could try an experiment where you take a frog and throw it into a pot of boiling water. It's going to jump out right away. But if you take that same frog and put it in a pot of room temperature water and turn the burner on slowly, the water's going to heat up gradually. And as that happens, the frog's body's going to adjust to the temperature, where it will boil to death and not even realize there's anything wrong. This is what happens in addiction. Addiction tricks our brain into thinking everything is just fine, when maybe it's not. Maybe my grades are starting to get worse. My relationships aren't going so good. I'm losing friends, arguing with my family. But I keep telling myself everything's okay. It's all right. It's all good. But I'm physically tricked by my addiction. Now, this doesn't just have to be drugs or alcohol. This can be an addiction to anything. This can be an addiction to eating, shopping, gambling, social media, Netflix. All of those things work the same way. We get addicted by just the same thing. So if you or somebody you know might be struggling with any kind of addiction, what can you do? There's a lot of help out there. Don't be afraid to talk to a trusted adult. Reach out to someone in the community. We're here with just the right service to help you get back to being as successful as you can. Addiction is scary. Addiction is also preventable, identifiable, and treatable. There is help, and there is hope.